The main island of Orkney is but a short crossing of the Pentland Firth from Gills near John O'Groats to St Margaret's at Hope. Neolithic or Stone Age peoples lived here some 5,000 years ago, and they were probably amongst the first to witness an Orcadian spring. For the archaeologists, the western part of the mainland is a great attraction, beginning with Maze Howe, a Neolithic burial mound. Entry to the tomb is via a low tunnel, shown here on this diagram. The building and orientation of this site was very carefully managed. On December 21st, the date of the winter solstice, the sun shines directly into the tunnel and lights up the interior of the chamber. Perhaps the most impressive of all the ancient sites is the village of Skara Brae. The family living in Scale House woke up after a night of stormy weather to find that the high seas had uncovered a Neolithic site on the nearby beach. The archaeologists moved in and unearthed a small village of 11 interconnecting houses. Having been covered up for a great many years, the individual houses were in a good state of preservation. Many artifacts were found which enabled the archaeologists to build a picture of what life was like in Neolithic or New Stone Age times. Surrounding the central fireplace there are cots which would be filled with brushwood to act as mattresses. This must be one of the oldest sideboards in existence. The open landscape on the mainland is generally undulating rather than hilly, but the eastern and western coastlines are much more dramatic, with high cliffs and impressive features of coastal erosion. The thin rock layers are known as flagstone sandstones. They make good building materials for roofs and are often used as field boundaries. It was on the eastern side, on the cliff top, that we visited the Tomb of Eagles. When it was found by a local farmer, there were human remains as well as a great many eagle claws. Entry was by a low tunnel, and the box of knee pads and the skateboard were clues to the method of entry. We had a brief look round inside, and after discussing a strategy for exit, we did so, with various levels of comfort.
Allez, crawl. Allez, up.
On the cliff top we came across the remains of this fossilized beach. The sheltered waters of Skara Brae have always been of great strategic importance, and in both World Wars they served as a very important naval base. At the end of the First World War, the German fleet was anchored in Skara Brae. The German captain decided to scuttle the ships so that they didn't get into British hands. Shortly after the onset of the Second World War, a German submarine penetrated the eastern defences, and the battleship HMS Royal Oak was sunk with great loss of life. Winston Churchill's response was to order the building of what became known as the Churchill Barriers. The 4 barriers link the islands of Brae, Gimpsholm and Lamholm and close the gap in the eastern entry to Scapa Flow. They also served as the foundations for the modern road link in this part of Orkney. Visitors to Orkney are encouraged to visit the Italian chapel. Prisoners of war taken at the Battle for North Africa were housed on Orkney. They were involved with the construction of the barriers, and an enterprising group converted this Nissen hut into a place of worship. Obviously, there were some very talented artists and craftsmen amongst these visitors to Orkney. As a result, they created a lasting memorial to their presence on the island. In complete contrast is the impressive red sandstone cathedral of St Magnus. It stands in the centre of Kirkwall, the island capital. Founded in 1137, it was part of the diocese of the Norwegian city of Trondheim, becoming part of the Kingdom of Scotland in 1468. 5,000 years of human history in one small island.